Looks so excited. So just I want to introduce myself a little bit. I know some of you already know me, but maybe we'll go into a little bit more background and get a little more personal. So that being said, I grew up as an Italian in New York, and family was always first. We always, every Sunday, everybody came to my house, and we just had a lot of food. So that's just my, the way I always lived was always having family. I never really thought I'd have a lot of kids, but we'll talk about it a little later, but I have 5 amazing children. And it's a lot of work, but I think that's almost what has strengthened me along the path and grown me as not only as a Christian, but also as a mom and as a businesswoman and everything else. So I am just so grateful to them and also my husband. So thank you guys. I'm sure I'll thank you again. So anyway, after growing up in New York, we moved to Michigan. And when I was 18, I ended up moving out and I went to the Marine Corps. And I served overseas the entire time. So I was overseas for 4.5 years. I served a total of actually 5, and we'll get into that later. But I was an ammunition technician, which I worked in logistics. So that was a great opportunity for me to kind of get involved in many different aspects as far as balancing budgets, looking at different things, being able to look at ammunition coming in, and it was kind of a boring job. And so I decided to leave there, and I put in for a Marine Security Guard, which was the ultimate for me. So if many of you may not have heard about that, I worked in the embassies, and it was the best job I ever had. It really was. I traveled. I got to work on president's details. I got to work with Clinton, Bush. I was there during the President of Bush, Colin Powell. So I got to work with all these people and actually do security for them. So it just goes to show you that my integrity and goes far. And I'm a hard worker. And so in order to be able to be put in that type of position, there's very few people who actually make it through the schooling. And so it's just something to be really proud of, that the Lord actually got me through that. And every day I look back and I just look at how much I've learned. So that being said, when I was in MSG, I was stationed in New Delhi, India, which was a third world country. And I learned a lot there. I learned a lot about culture. I learned a lot about diversity. I learned a lot about really, when I came back to the United States, how much we do have here. And it gave me a complete another perspective in comparison to some of even the kids today we look at that they really don't understand that. And so I try to teach that to my kids. I really do. That's something very important in my family, and my kids, I really try to teach them and to understand that. After that, I ended up leaving to go to Spain, which was my good post. And as my daughter's making faces over there, I'll just call her out right now. So I loved Spain so much that after my post there, I decided to stay there. And I went to college out there for 3 years. Wow. It was incredible. I was almost at the point where I didn't know if I was going to come back. I love Spain that much. However, my college, when I was out there, they said you need to do your last year in Boston at Suffolk University. So I came back. And it was incredible. I studied Spanish, and so I'm bilingual. And so that just opened up so many more doors for me, not only because I lived in the culture in Spain, but also having the language. And then after that, I ended up working with boys in an adolescent home who dealt with drugs and alcohol. And I was working counseling with them, which was another whole other experience for me. And I loved it. I really, really did. And it just broke my heart in so many ways to see what these kids go through and the strength that they have to be able to make it day by day. That, some of these kids were running drugs at 3 years old. And it was incredible to hear their stories. And we'd sit at night and talk, and they would just cry their eyes out. But I was able to be that listening ear and that shoulder for them. And it was an experience that I'll never forget. After leaving that job, I went to my job that I wanted to do since 2nd grade, and I became a New York City police officer. I always wanted to be a cop. I remember the cops coming into my school. If you guys remember Nancy Reagan time, the DARE program, we all remember that. And so that really always had a real big place in my heart. And it was always more of a community rather than an enforcement. And so that's when I went into the police department. That's what I wanted to project to other people. I wanted to show them that I'm there as a community supporter and as a helper and an enforcer when need be. So I worked there. I also worked in small community outreach as a New York City police officer. I worked with motorcycles. I was so blessed to be able to do so many a variety of things while I was there for a short time. And then my husband called me. At the time, he wasn't my husband, but we went back all the way back to Japan 10 years before then. and we were best friends. And he said, hey, why don't you come out to California and visit? And at the time, I'd had my daughter from my previous marriage. And I said, sure. So we came out, and long and the short, I fell in love with California. And if anybody knows New York and California is like day and night. And so I was like, oh, this is interesting, but I really loved it. I loved the area. He was living in Fallbrook at the time. And I think, was it 3 months after that? I think about 3 months later, we moved. I literally left my job, left everything, my family, and I took my daughter, and we came out here and got married. And so it was a huge transition, especially waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I heard my first rooster. It was kind of a nightmare. I was like, where did I come from? Where did I go? So it was different from hearing
gunshots, right?
It was better than that, you know.
Was that your husband?
Sometimes I wondered. But it was an experience. And so coming out here to the West Coast, I really did fall in love with it. So my husband currently right now, he's been in the Marine Corps for 32 years. He works bomb disposal, so don't know how he does it, but it's kind of one of those things. He blows up. It's every bombs and all this stuff. But so every day, every boy's dream. But it's been incredible how we've been able to grow our family of 5 children. In the Marine Corps, we've moved constantly, but we've always had this heart for this area. Even when we lived in Fallbrook, my kids went to school out here. They went to Temecula Christian. Took me a minute, thank you. And Rancho, yes. And that's my daughter, by the way. And so Temecula Christian and Rancho, I worked out here. I worked at some of the clubs out here. I became a personal trainer. And after that, I became a holistic health coach. So altogether, I have 18 plus years in health and wellness. And when we moved to Virginia, I finally opened up my own business. So I became a holistic health coach over there officially. I was working with women on many concerns. We sat on the couch, we talked, we trained, and it really made me appreciate being a small business owner. I worked for corporations, and I'll be honest with you, I just didn't have that personal feel. There was certain touches that I wanted to be able to connect with my clients and people that I worked with, I couldn't do working for corporations. And so I knew that it was definitely for me. I know I would never go back to working in a corporation. I always loved that. So when we moved out here finally to Temecula, which was now we call home, I couldn't, because taxes, I'm going to be honest, because taxes are so high, I was not able to open up my own business, how I wanted it, a brick and mortar. I had this whole plan, and I said, well, when the Lord leads me to that time, it will happen. And so he actually led me to another small business that I have right now called Soul Naturals. So I work with herbs. And I have a team of women that I work with, which is incredible. So not only has it taught me teamwork, but it's also taught me how to really come in a new area and just continue to just blossom. And you have to network, you have to work with people. It's constant. You can't sit behind a desk. You have to work, work, work. And that is my passion. It's always working. It's getting out in the community. I'm pretty good at it. It's actually, I would say, really, it's a gift of mine, if anything. And I loved talking to everybody. So it's been very helpful. Also, right now, I'm also an office manager at Birth Choice. I know many of you guys know. I actually started volunteering there last year, and they saw my passion. Thank you. They saw my passion for working with these women who are coming into areas of their lives with which is scary times. And not only the women, but the men, because we always forget a lot of times about the men who are going through the same tragedy and the same craziness that they are. It is. It's very true. And so that being said, I love coming beside these women and these families and being able to give them direction, being able to come alongside of them to say, hey, there are other options available to you. There's adoptions. There are so many other things, and even parenting. And so it's, again, given me another new perspective of working with people and just joy when I'm working with these people to be able to keep babies. And there's nothing more beautiful than a mom saying, I'm gonna parent. And it might even be her at 17, 18 years old, but then having this baby is just such a joyful, amazing blessing that there's nothing better than that. So I'm just so proud to just be a part of that and working with these women. Bravo. So anyway, so enough about me. Let's get to the stuff of why you're here. Okay, so that being said, a lot of people wonder why I decided to do this in City Council. And if anybody really knows me, we'll talk about Helena, one of my best friends. She knows I am not a politician, okay? It is not in my blood. However, I have been led here This has been something that I can definitely see there's been a path, and it continued to get narrow, more and more narrow, and Lord was just pushing me and saying, I have this for you. And the more I started opening my eyes to seeing what was in front of me, and then looking at my past and looking what he has put behind me and before me, I said, Lord, this is it. This is the job that you have for me. And I was ready to just take it on full force. I asked my husband a couple times, I made sure before we did this, are you sure you want to do this? And he said, a couple of the areas that I really want to look into, obviously you guys now know my background, public safety. We have had such an influx of people coming in to Temecula who are not from here, who want to destroy and cause chaos within our city. And I say, no way. No way. Exactly. No way. We are getting bigger. You know, I know everybody here, a lot of people here have probably been here since the beginning. Well, I don't want to say the beginning. I would say it sounds like a lot of people got here 17 to 20 years ago. A lot of people I talked to, kind of in the beginning with the building. And I know a lot of people want to keep this small. You know, they want to keep it to a point to where Temecula is somewhere we can know our neighbors. You know, we're not feeling like we're in New York City or we're in LA, you know. So I always plan to be able to keep that community tight knit. Slow grow. And that's exactly where it is, because we are going to grow. I mean, we will call it that, but it needs to be a slow grow. Absolutely. And that being said, I feel that, I know that as we grow slowly, we're still going to need more public safety. It's just going to have to happen. But with that will come more revenue. We're going to end up, businesses will come in. But my biggest area that I want to make sure of is that our small businesses are growing strong first. Amen. They got to grow strong first. And so that being said, and we'll get onto that further, but so many of these businesses currently right now, we all know they're hurting. I'm even seeing the big businesses close. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Steinmart is one of my favorite places to shop. Yeah, I know. It is. I just saw 50% off, and I was like, "Ooh, I gotta go shopping." So my husband's like, "No, please." So, but these businesses are really taking a toll, and this is an area we need to come together. And I truly believe that we can continue to build up Temecula, and even these businesses that are taking a hit, I still have an opportunity, along with the community and along with City Council and along with the rest of Temecula, to build up these small businesses, because they need to. It's Temecula. It's Temecula. These businesses are Temecula. So that being said, continuing on public safety as well, the fire department. I just got done talking with them and had a great conversation. I love the fact that we have 4 men on a truck. It is safe. It is safe for them. It is safe for their families. And I want to continue to ensure that we have these men coming to fires, coming to situations that they know that they can handle, because they have the support of their coworkers, of their other firefighters. Now, I know I spoke to him, and this is something that I'm definitely very in favor of, having worked as a police officer. Currently, right now, the CAL FIRE is working 70 hours. And I know they like their overtime, because I know I always did too. It was always very beneficial. Exactly. But sometimes, you want to get to the point where you want to make it, not be forced to make it, And so that being said, our firefighters are worked very hard. They're working 70 hours. I used to work overtime when I needed to, but some of these guys, they only want to work 56, like some of the other areas. And so I am definitely in favor of making that happen if that's what they want. That being said, making sure that, again, because if they're not awake enough, if they're not, if they haven't had the time to relax, how are they going to really have safety in mind, for themselves? And I want to make sure that's foremost in front, that they just do their job no matter what it takes. The other area of public safety that's really important for me is the drugs and homelessness. Now, I know there's so many broad areas of that, but drugs really are a big area in the south of Temecula. And not only amongst, young people, we're really finding out that even middle-aged people, are ODing. And especially at a time like this, we're looking at suicide, we're looking at overdosing. And so we want to ensure that, we can reach out to these people. And so there's a lot of areas in homeless that I'm going to be working with, talking to, there's already some things in place right now, but the fire department even said that they go out and, at least 2 of their calls a day minimum are with the homeless. And these people are just getting bussed in. And we want to make sure that we can get to the root cause of that problem. It's never going to go away. Let's call a spade a spade. It's never going to go away. But the fact of the matter is we need to take care of them in whatever means necessary. Okay? So how does that sound? Good? That's what I say. All right, let me have some water before I get perched here. So we talked about small businesses. Definitely want to get them open. I'd love to be able to look at more incentives for the small businesses, and I'd love to be able to talk more with, once we get to city council. But right now there was a grant that went out for around $50,000, I believe, and that's actually for the small businesses, and that's already done. That's already gone. So some businesses, depending upon size or whatnot, they might have gotten $1,000, $5,000 or whatnot. But that's nothing for these businesses. It's nothing. It's great, exactly. We had a week that closed. They lost all their food. That's maybe not even the rent, I'm sure, for some of these people. So we got to make sure that happens. And for myself, one of the areas of small businesses to be able to unite the community. If we look at the youth today, they can't even change a tire. Let's be honest. They can't change a tire. They don't know how to do oil changes. Well, what happens if we were to bring these youth into some of these and promote the small businesses and be able to bring the youth in and say, hey, to a mechanic's office or somewhere, doing certain things. Exactly. We're bringing people in, the youth. We're giving them wisdom. We're giving them understanding in a trade. And then we're promoting the small businesses at the same time. Right? So for me, youth is going to be a big area. Youth is our roots right now. We need to build them up. And so, we have a lot of issues with youths. Youths. There they came out. Yeah, right. Youths. Yeah, remember that? The youths. From, what was that? My Cousin Vinny, right? Great show. The youths. But my biggest thing is I want to also be able to see the coming together of our police department and our youths, because they need to. Kids need to understand that cops are not there just to lock them up. They are there for safety. They are there to become part of their community. And I would love to see them do community outreach as well with the kids in the schools. We have an enforcement in the schools right now. I actually was one of those police officers back in New York. And let me tell you, I'm going to be honest, it was the most boringest job I ever did. It really was, just sitting there at a desk waiting for something to happen. What about putting me out there with those kids? What about connecting us? Let me teach them about drugs. We have drug issues. Let's teach them. Let's get them involved in understanding what exactly is going on, not only in their homes, but give them somebody else to talk to. Many of these kids don't have that ability. And that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to be able to have our youth connected with our police officers connected with the community, seniors connected with everybody in general. We need to unite completely together and serve each other. And that's what I plan on doing when I get into city council. You guys are great, by the way. All right, my last area that I want to talk about, and it kind of ties into a little bit of everything, but is quality of life. We moved here to Temecula when we came back from Virginia because we knew we were going to have an incredible quality of life coming here to Temecula. And I want to make sure I preserve that. The traditions and values here are important, and we do not want to lose them. And so that being said, things like the homelessness that we talked about, I want to make sure that is definitely taken care of, or at least worked on. Again, it's never going to be perfect. It's a broken world, but let's try and mend it as much as we can with Christ, if we can. All right, so the next one is traffic. Who likes traffic in Temecula? I know I don't. I come from New York, so it's for me, it's really not that bad. Well, I don't know if you guys know, we're actually going into phase 1 right after January. So phase 1 of the freeway, I have over there the French Valley area, where you guys know where that Y is, the 215, the 15. So I had a gentleman completely draw this entire thing out for me, and it threw me in circles a little bit, but I got the gist of it. And how they're going to be adding lanes to the outside, they're going to have overpasses, because the majority of our traffic comes from Menifee, Murrieta, and Lake Elsinore. It's really not from here. So once we're able to, because a lot of the times the cars need to crisscross over, and so we're trying to eliminate that and be able to get more movement rather than pause, shift. So it's already in motion. There's going to be 3 phases. Starting in the beginning of January, right about, was it 2001? 2021, we're going to be starting. I know, take us back, right? 2021, we're going to be already starting that phase 1. So it is in progress. And if I believe I'm correct, it's going to be about a 3-year process. So it sounds long, but in reality, could we imagine having so much less traffic here in Temecula? I'm in favor for it. So some other areas I know that they talked about is Yanez, widening Yanez. And that's another area if somebody would like to discuss, we can talk about that as well. So the French Valley area we talked about. And then honestly, parks. I have 5 kids, and I know there's kids' homes at school right now. I want parks open. I do not understand. Enough is enough. Now I will tell you, I am still in a learning process, and I always will be. And the biggest thing I'm understanding is, we only get about $12 from, $12 per person from, from the state? I want to make sure. Anyways, where some of these other areas are getting a lot more money.
Why is that?
That's my question. That is my question. And a lot of it, and people say if we end up closing or if we end up opening Temecula, a lot of people are afraid that we are going to lose that money. It's $12. I'm not that excited. I'm not too worried about it. So my opinion,
We'll pay the $12.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll pay $12 because
We'll pay $100.
think about now, all of a sudden, now we can open up our office or our small businesses. We can get these things open. And that is my goal. We need to open up. Enough is enough, And so the kids need parks. Let's get them out to the parks. Let's get them finally connecting. If people, listen, I know COVID is not an area that people want to discuss, but there are options. There are options if they feel unsafe. Stay home. Put a mask on. But many of us are healthy, and so let's live life to the fullest, and let's get out and do what we're here to do. And that's what I say. So in conclusion, I say let's strengthen the heart of Temecula. The heart is all of you. The heart is everybody who lives here. And I want to be able to do that by unifying, educating, and serving. And not only myself doing those 3, but all of us contributing either big or small to be able to do that. So that being said, I thank you so much all for being here. I really want to thank, number 1, again, Bob and Grace, for opening up your home and your time and your love. It's been incredible. It's been an incredible journey so far, and we have ways to go still. We have about 60 days. I want to thank the Republican Party for all they've done. They have been a tremendous, they've just been tremendous in so many ways to be able to help me, guide me, teach me, and just support me in a lot of ways. So thank you. Again, my team, the volunteers. I want to thank my family for all their support. My kids are here. Again, my husband. Yes, sir. Oh, okay. And most importantly, I want to just thank God for all he's done in my life. He is, I can tell you right now, I wake up day to day, and if it wasn't for him in my life, I would not be standing here. And I know that full-heartedly, and I'm never and will never be ashamed to say that. So thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Some of you guys and what you guys want. I'm your voice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I want to be your voice. It's so easy. It becomes more difficult when I want to do it on my own. Why do that? When I have a body of people behind me who are guiding me on what's best for them and their community and their family, and that's why I'm here. So